Okay, so this is it. It just came in the mail. It's a sublimation printer, but it's actually just an inkjet printer that we're gonna convert to a sublimation printer for like $200 cheaper than a Sawgrass sublimation printer. And my craft source is one of the only places I've seen that sells it as a bundle. So you actually get a discount for buying it like this, but you can buy the inkjet printer and they go ahead and give you all the stuff you need to convert it to a sublimation printer. So let me tell you really briefly what sublimation is, and then let's open this baby up. Okay, so quick side note, we've never really talked about sublimation on my channel, but sublimation is a whole other side to Cricut crafting that if you haven't gotten into it yet, it's gonna be like your next obsession and you're gonna wanna do it all the time. Because when I'm wanting to make a design that's complicated, or it has a lot of layers, or it has a lot of colors, or maybe it even has a lot of shading, and print then cut isn't really appropriate, like maybe it's something I wanna put on a mug or on a shirt or a jacket or something textile. It's hard to do that with print then cut. That's where sublimation comes in, because sublimation prints your design in full color on special sublimation ink that then can be heat pressed onto anything you could normally heat press. So the trick is you have to buy items or blanks that are sublimation ready, meaning you have to buy sublimation ready mugs or tumblers or shirts, jackets, sweatshirts, what have you. But if you do that and you use your sublimation printer, then you can then heat press that design directly on, and it actually infuses with the fabric, so it's not gonna peel, it's not gonna shrink, and it's not gonna tear away from the fabric because it's actually infused with it. Same with like a mug, it's actually like dyed onto the ceramic. So it's long lasting and it gives you a lot more versatility in the kind of designs you can do, because you can print full color designs. If you can draw it, you can sublimation print it. So now that we're done with that side note, let's open this baby up and let's put it together. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna go ahead and open it up. I'm a little nervous because the box has a dent in it, so I'm hoping it didn't get damaged in transport, but we're about to find out. Oh my goodness. Okay. Okay, the first things in the box are our sublimation ink that we're gonna be putting in the printer. And your bundle also comes with a pack of sublimation paper. So that's going to come in handy because that's what we're gonna print our designs on that allow it to be heat pressed onto whatever we're heat pressing it onto. Then finally, it looks like the last thing in our box other than my packing slip is the actual printer. So let's get it out. I'm gonna cut to when I have this thing actually out of the box. Okay, so here's everything that comes in the box exactly as it comes in the box. All I did was pull the printer directly out. So this is our Epson EcoTank C2100, and then we're gonna be converting it to a sublimation printer using StarCraft Sublimation Ink. So when you buy this package or this bundle from my craft source, it's important to note that you're getting the printer and everything that normally comes with it. So you're gonna get the normal Epson ink bottles, but you're not gonna be using those at all because we're actually gonna be putting the StarCraft Sublimation Ink in it in order to convert it. So that's everything that comes in the box. As part of the bundle, you do also get a pack of sublimation paper from StarCraft. And it's important that when you're printing your sublimated designs, you're putting them on this special paper because that's how you're gonna actually put it on your blank. Okay, so in the next clip, we're going to start unpacking this thing and putting it together. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're just gonna remove all the blue tape on our printer. It's just there for packing, so it's nothing special. It's really easy to remove. We're just gonna go around the whole printer and rip off all these pieces. Okay, we are just about ready to finally convert our EcoTank into a sublimation printer, but I want to tell you a couple quick things about StarCraft Sublimation Ink before we dive in. They're just right here on the side of the box, but I just want to read it to you because it's important information about sublimation ink. First is you have to keep it out of direct sunlight. You can't mix it with other ink types. You have to keep the bottle upright and sealed, and then you can't store it in like freezing temperatures or really hot temperatures like over 104 degrees Fahrenheit. Another thing that's really important about sublimation ink that you might not know is that it actually expires. So after it's expired, you're not gonna get that really like vibrant print quality. It's not gonna adhere to your designs as well. So it expires after 18 months. So what I'm actually gonna do right now before I even put this ink in my printer is I'm gonna put a little piece of tape here on top of my printer and I'm gonna mark the date when I opened this ink so that I know that after 18 months it's expired and it'll be time to take it out and get a new package of ink. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that right now. So as you can see, I just have like a regular piece of tape, and I'm just going to take it, put it right here on the side of my printer, and I'm just gonna take this pink Sharpie and I'm gonna put ink, and then today is April 24th, I think, 2022. So I'm just gonna put that on there. That tells me that I opened it that day, which means it expires 18 months from now. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the expiration date on here too, so I have it. So now that we've done that, we are ready to actually put our ink in the tank. So we're just gonna open up the main lid here, pop open the inkwell, and rest the lid on the little inkwell. So we have like an opening to put our ink inside. And then we're actually just gonna pop these little tabs right here, and this is where our ink is gonna go. So let's go ahead and open it up and see what it looks like. We'll start with the black one because that's the one I already have open. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that one out. And you can see the black is actually bigger than all the others. So it even has a bigger reservoir right here. Let me get my scissors and open this up really fast. Okay, so this is what each little ink bottle looks like. And actually this is really cool because you're just gonna take this little, like, it has kind of a little tab on the top, and you just pop it straight into the hole. We'll do that in just a second, and it's gonna fill the tank with the ink, but I believe it has a little safety lid on it. So we're gonna take that off first, and then it'll be time to put this in the printer. I'm gonna get like a tool to help me do this because it's on there really good. Okay, I actually ended up cutting with scissors kind of around the rim here to get the little protective seal off. It's very thick and very tough, which is a good thing, honestly. But you might just wanna use scissors, and it might be a good idea to wear gloves because you really don't wanna get this stuff on your hands. I didn't know it was gonna be that tough, so I didn't. But for the next ones, I'll be wearing gloves. So then you can just screw your cap back on. Try to do it evenly, unlike what I'm doing. And then you just take this little silicone cap off here. And then all we're gonna do is we're just gonna tip it over and clip it right in. And you should see it start to fill the tank down here. And it's just gonna fill up. You can actually hear it. While that's filling up, one thing I do want to note is that when you convert an Epson to a sublimation printer like we're doing here, you do void the warranty on your printer. So don't even think about calling Epson and telling them you have a problem with your printer because they will not help you. But that is the same for if you put like any sort of off-brand ink in your printer. So just keep that in mind. We're gonna let this fill up, and then as soon as it's done filling, we're just gonna take it right back off and put the cap back on. So I'm gonna skip to when this is done filling. Okay, so it just finished filling, so I'm just gonna pop it right back off, and then I can put the cap back on it. And I do wanna note to you that if you buy other kinds of sublimation ink, you're gonna see people converting these, and they're gonna be using like syringes to get the ink out and then put it into the printer. And that's one of the things I love about StarCraft is you don't have to do that because they make it come with an attachment that matches the Epson printers. You can just stick it right in there, and it was as easy as you just saw me do. So I'm now gonna repeat what we just did with the other colors, and then I'll come back to you when I'm done. One more thing I wanna make sure to note about this ink is it's kind of a dual top. So you can pull this whole plastic part off to take the seal off, but then you kind of wanna hold the bottom plastic part in place to just pull off half of the plastic cap, because that's how you're gonna actually put the ink into your printer. So you might accidentally pull the whole plastic thing off and then you just have an open bottle, but it does have this little cap attached. And here's what it looks like when you take it off. So that's what you want to see in order to actually put your ink in. So let's keep going with the colors. Okay, so we finished putting the ink in our Eco Tank. It is now officially a sublimation printer. So now we're just gonna close the top by flipping this back down and pressing the lid back down. And now we're gonna get out our power cord and go ahead and plug it in and get it set up. So there's this plug. This end of the plug right here is actually just gonna go right here in the back of the printer. It just pops right in really easily. And then we're gonna plug this side into the wall. And then we just power it on for the first time. All right, let's quickly read the directions. And we're gonna get this thing hooked up to our computer. I'm actually gonna hook it up to my iPad today because we're gonna be doing a test print. Okay, so the first thing it's gonna do is walk me through some setup instructions, and it's just gonna do that on screen, so it's really easy to do. First, it's having me pick what language I want, so I'm gonna say okay for English, and then it's asking if it can finish setup using Epson Smart Panel app, and I say okay. So I'm gonna scan the QR code that just came up on the screen, and then I'm gonna go ahead and get that set up and come back to you. Okay, so I scanned the QR code actually from my iPad. So it's now searching for products and trying to find my Wi-Fi, and then it's gonna walk me through setting up the rest of the printer. So far this is really easy. It's having me choose which Epson product I have, and it's using Bluetooth to do so. Okay, so it found my printer actually really quickly. I'm gonna go ahead and connect to it, and then it's going to connect everything up and get it set up to go. So I'm gonna come back once I have this set up, but just know that so far this process is really easy. I'm just walking through step by step exactly what it's telling me to do. Okay, so I've gone through every step from the Epson Smart Panel app, and now it's just initializing the printer and making sure all the ink is set up correctly. So we're gonna let it run through that process, and then we're gonna come back. Okay, so just so you know, this is what it looks like. It's actually initializing the ink now, and it takes about 10 minutes. So we're gonna let it run through this process, and then once we're done, we're gonna move on to doing a test print. Okay, we have got it all set up. I went ahead and followed all the instructions on screen on my iPad, and I got it set up, and now it's time to load in our sublimation paper and do a test print. So I've already got it in Cricut Design Space as a print then cut image. I'm gonna go ahead and pull out our paper. I'm so excited because I've heard really good things about StarCraft sublimation paper, specifically that they like kind of put a watermark. Yes, it's here. So they put their watermark on the back of their sublimation pages, which seems like not a big deal, but it actually is. And I'll tell you why, hold on. Okay, so now I can tell which side is the back and which side is the front, and even better, it says StarCraft sublimation paper. So if I had other kinds of StarCraft paper, like their printable vinyl or something, I could throw these all in together and they wouldn't get mixed up. So I'm gonna go ahead and load it into my printer. I'm gonna load it in, okay, so we're gonna go ahead and pull out our output tray, and we're also gonna pop open the back right here, pull out the paper feeder, and there's two little blue tabs back here that are guidelines. We're just gonna push those out so that our paper can slide in. Now that I've slid my paper in there, I'm gonna push the guide marks just so it is like snug against the edges of my paper. And then I'm going to click on my iPad up here to print our test design. Okay, we've got it all cut out. We are ready to tape it to our mug, which is a color changing mug. This is gonna turn white when it gets hot. And also just a note about sublimation ink. It's gonna look a little dull when you print it out. That is not an indicator of your print quality. Wait till you see what it looks like when we tape it down and press it. Okay, we are now heating up our mug press, and while that heats up, we're gonna take our printed sublimation sheet and our mug, and we're going to tape it down. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm just going to cut a few pieces of my tape so that I have them ready. I'm just gonna stick them on the edge of the table here. This is special heat resistant tape. You can't just use any tape for this. They do sell this at my craft stores. I cannot remember what brand this is, but you do have to buy the special tape in order for it not to just like melt to your project. Okay, so now that we've got this is what I think the hardest part is, and that's actually wrapping your design. I like to just set it on a flat surface, wrap it around, make sure it's really snug, and then I'm gonna use my little piece of tape that I just cut. I'm just gonna secure it down, making sure it's not underlapping on my design that I just made. So I'm gonna peel a little bit back there so it's not getting in the way of my design. And then once we have both sides down, we can actually tape across here. I like to put a few extra pieces of tape just to make sure it's really on there. And you can cut away some of this excess if you have too much. And then once it's attached and ready to go, it's gonna go in our mug press once it's done heating up. Okay, our mug press just beeped and the light is green, so now we're just gonna place our mug down in there. I am like both terrified and very excited. I'm gonna make sure my handle is facing out, and I'm just gonna press it all the way down, and now we wait. Okay, I'm still waiting, but I just have to tell you that like I can see it starting to adhere to the mug, and I'm so excited. Okay, while we wait patiently for this to press, I do want to mention one more thing about the sublimation printer, and that is that when you're using sublimation ink, keep in mind that it's oil-based and not water-based like standard inkjet ink. And so you do need to run your sublimation printer pretty frequently in order to keep the sublimation ink from kind of clogging up the tubes. Otherwise you'll have to like run a clean on your printer. So what I do is I just pick like a pretty simple design, and like once every few days or so, just print it. You don't have to make a whole craft or a project, but just print something. You have plenty of ink, you're not gonna run out. That ink will go a long way, but just printing frequently with your printer is gonna keep it from getting clogged and having to like clean up those tubes. So just a quick reminder. It just beeped at me, it's done. So now we can release it. It's gonna smoke a little bit, that's okay. Carefully lift it out. We're just gonna set it, this is a metal table, so I can set it down on this safely. I'm gonna go ahead and turn off my mug press and move it out of the way. We're gonna let it sit there for a second, and then we're gonna take off the tape and see how it looks. Okay, I can hardly wait, so I'm going ahead and starting to peel the tape off very slowly. Trying not to burn myself in the process. I just like have to see it. I'm dying to see it. So we're gonna slowly peel this tape off. We're gonna see what this thing looks like. Oh my gosh! I don't want it to get stuck. We have a rogue piece of tape. Oh my gosh. So like I said, this is a color changing mug. So when it cools off, it's gonna be totally black, like it has no design. And then when it fills up with hot coffee, it's gonna look like this. So vibrant, so fun. Super impressed. Love it. Okay friends, that is it for today. We have changed our Epson inkjet printer into officially a sublimation printer. We set it all up and we tested it out on this really fun, really cute leopard print mug. So I know this was a bit of a hiatus from our Canva series, but next week we'll be back at it, converting our Canva design using Inkscape so that it is a fully functional SVG, really easy and efficient, ready to be popped into Cricut Design Space. And we're gonna continue that next week. So definitely come back, subscribe if you haven't already. There'll be plenty more sublimation tutorials to come and plenty more of everything Cricut. So until next time, happy crafting.